I'm ProzaicMuze, back with a Thunderstrike guide for Diablo 3's Barbarian class. With a 200 weapon and as much damage as we can muster, we'll explore the ancient whack-a-mole fighting style. While most hammer builds tend to use the rune Smash for its higher damage, we'll be focusing on using the stunning mechanic of Thunderstrike to imitate a lesser form of critical mass perma-freezing. On the mouse buttons we have Bash with Punish and Hammer of the Ancients with Thunderstrike, while Wrath the Berserker with Insanity, Overpower with Momentum, Battle Rage with Into the Fray, and Rend with Lacerate sit on the QWERTY keys. The passives Weapon Master, Ruthless, and Bloodthirst provide extra crit chance for spamming Thunderstrike and Lifesteal for increasing survivability. Despite missing the standard defensive abilities and passives, the high damage output combined with AoE stunning allows us to safely rely on lifesteal. Should you struggle with this more offensive version of the build, there are many options for increasing survivability without losing all of your damage. Insanity is the best and easiest method of increasing your damage and survivability at the same time. Doubling your damage means doubling your healing through lifesteal. I recommend saving this for nasty crowd control affix combinations given that they represent your greatest weakness and you become immune to them for the duration. Thrive on Chaos is a viable alternative, but it will require you to focus on fury generation and fast kills in monster power levels lower than Insanity would normally allow. Specifically, you need to pick a monster power level that allows you to kill trash in 1-2 hits and elite packs in 10 seconds or less to sustain it. Momentum is an amazing fury generator for this build, given that the large number of crits Thunderstrike will spit out can reduce the cooldown of Overpower for even more fury. This fury shortcuts your initial windup, maintains your fury for spamming, and spits out AoE damage for consistent healing. Killing Spree becomes a strong alternative once you've accumulated a high crit chance. With a 6-second duration, you only need 1 crit proc a second to maintain the buff indefinitely. I've had a reasonable amount of success using this and Into the Fray alone to maintain the fury required for Thunderstrike, but it's less flexible in general. If you're having trouble staying alive, Revel provides a scaling heal that can easily recover half your maximum health or more each use. With crits lowering the cooldown, it becomes a fairly consistent source of healing. Crushing Advance is a great rune for tackling higher monster power levels if paired with another healing ability like Revenge or Rend with Bloodlust. It will reduce incoming damage, spit out scaling damage, and has the potential for permanency through crits. Overall, Overpower will prove to be a Swiss Army knife for addressing weaknesses in your build, but you can easily drop it for other abilities like Revenge or Ignore Pain if you prefer. When first approaching this build, Into the Fray is the best way of generating the fury you need for spamming Thunderstrike so long as you're using a two-handed axe or mace. If you're using a mighty weapon, Marauder's Rage provides damage to compensate for the lost crit chance from the passive Weapons Master, but I don't recommend using it unless you have one or more items that reduce the cost of Thunderstrike. Bloodshed is an interesting way of adding even more AoE damage, but it practically requires that you use a mighty weapon given that the AoE proc damage isn't worth it if you can't spam Thunderstrike. Lacerate is an excellent source of damage with a minimal impact on your Thunderstrike use. It is particularly effective at tagging fleeing ranged packs and provides consistent healing for the duration through lifesteal. Its proc rate can be deceptive though, as it doesn't handle crits like most abilities. When cast, Rend makes a single crit check. If you successfully crit, every tick will deal crit damage, but only the first tick counts as a crit proc, so don't be surprised when it never gives you fury. If you want to increase your survivability but don't want to give up momentum on Overpower, Bloodlust is the answer. Assuming you have a base of 6% lifesteal for a total of 15% and 50,000 weapon damage, Bloodlust will heal you for 2,100 per second per target affected. That's 6,300 per second on a standard elite pack. Punish is yet another way to boost the damage of Thunderstrike, but it will require you to periodically alternate attacks to maintain the buff. It's often overkill for trash mobs, but it's useful for opening doors and breaking all the breakable things that need to be broken. I've worked it out to 1 bash every 2 to 3 Thunderstrikes once I've capped the damage boost, but this number changes with faster attack speeds. Experiment with attack patterns until you find the best one for you. If you're using Thrive on Chaos or need more fury in general, Instigation is one possibility. You'll lose the damage boost, but given that you probably only use it for elite packs where you happen to be struggling for fury, lower damage is better than no damage. Clobber can be useful for bosses, but the low chance for stunning makes it unreliable. You could get stuck attacking 4 to 5 times just to stun the boss long enough for 1 or 2 Thunderstrikes. You're probably better off just tanking the damage with Thunderstrike in that case. Stacking lots of attack speed can make this rune more appealing though. Thunderstrike is one of the best stuns in the game outside of Critical Mass, with a 100% chance for a long AoE stun upon killing something. While I tend to favor the lazy Hulk smash approach of hitting anything and everything that can be hit, Thunderstrike can work into any build as a solid finisher for stuns. Thunderstrike is also an absolute crit monster. If you're sitting at 57% base crit, you can reach 100% by using Overpower with Killing Spree and Wrath of the Berserker while at 100 Fury. This is because you gain 1% crit for every 5 Fury you have. Incorporating max Fury items and more crit abilities like Revenge allows you to reach 100% crit from a base of 40. This only applies to Thunderstrike though. Weapons Master and Ruthless tend to be automatic passives when using Battle Rage with Into the Fray, but Weapons Master also affords you the option of using a mighty weapon for Fury generation. Bloodthirst, on the other hand, loses value as you gain more lifesteal from your items, so you are likely to drop it at some point. When that happens, Animosity is an easy choice because it lessens the need for Into the Fray and increases your Fury buffer, which, in turn, adds up to 4% crit chance to Thunderstrike. Brawler is a highly situational alternative that greatly helps with farming elites, but is entirely useless against every boss save Zolt and Cool until you've killed his golem bodyguards. The minions for other bosses are simply too weak to trigger this passive for more than a few seconds. Wrath of the Berserker serves one purpose in this build as the very best damage boost there is. When you absolutely positively got to kill every glowing demon in the room, except no substitutes. When you first start a run or return from a mini vacation to the realm in black and white, Overpower lets you skip over the traditional wind-up attacks with Bash. A single cast is usually enough to start Battle Rage and Rend with plenty to spare. You don't always have to hit monsters though, as Destructibles also generate Fury when hit. This is particularly useful when monsters are hiding from your big bad boomstick. Earlier I mentioned that you can reduce Overpower's cooldown with crits, but it's hard to illustrate just how amazing this is until you've seen it in action. While normally this allows you to use Overpower every couple of seconds, it's entirely possible to completely reset the cooldown with a single Thunderstrike on a large enough group, sometimes doing so multiple times in a row. Like with Fury, you can also use Destructibles to lower the cooldown, allowing you to jumpstart the build and then reset the cooldown as you cap out your Fury. Even more amazing is that Overpower can lower its own cooldown with its own crits. If you watch the button closely here, you can see that after each cast, the cooldown shading starts with a portion of it already revealed. It seems that the damage impacts ripple out in a rapid succession after the cast that appears to happen simultaneously, but allows for self-proccing. On a related note, why is Overpower the only ability that makes me feel like I'm in the kitchen? What's with the dinner bell? Do I look like a woman to you? Wait, don't answer that. Blah de blah, this is Battle Rage, it makes you glow orange. You want to stay orange, don't lose the orange. Rend isn't overly complicated to use, but it's worth taking a look at. You want to see those red markers over monsters so that they'll heal you while they're dying. Personally, I only use it when I anticipate taking a beating, but it's worth using on elites for the extra damage and healing as needed. On the lower monster power levels like shown here, it can sometimes kill them outright. Bash with Punish is one of those annoying abilities that lacks a buff icon, so you need to watch for the glowing yellow aura under your feet. There's no visible difference between 1 and 3 stacks though, so you'll need to count them out in your head. I apologize to those for whom this makes this build impossible to use. Also, you can use Destructibles to stack and maintain Punish between groups, although I'm beginning to think that one day they'll rise up and seek vengeance for their countless shattered brethren. We're using them for a lot of things here. Hammer of the Ancients usually does enough damage to kill trash in 1 to 2 hits to trigger Thunderstrike's stun. This stun is long, the radius feels bigger than it probably is, and having health bars above minions will help you manage it. It is also rather easy to stun lock by repeatedly killing 1 or more monsters, which makes the need for face tanking non-existent. As long as you can kill something for a stun, you can minimize or negate incoming damage. This is most true when fighting elites surrounded by trash or even large elite packs in general. Sniping 1 or more at a time to chain stuns is very effective. Even bosses are susceptible to this stun if they have lots of squishy pets to step on. Leoric, Belial, and Sadea are all good examples of this. Thunderstrike is also surprisingly effective at generating fury through Into the Fray, such that you will occasionally find yourself not using overpower at all once you start swinging. You can see that even though I sometimes only hit a couple of monsters, my fury is mostly stable over the course of this slow yet methodical hammer spree. It only gets better with more attack and more movement speed. Now, one thing I didn't address earlier that I will quickly cover now is that the abilities that you would think synergize with Thunderstrike actually slow you down. An example of this is Ground Stomp and Leap with their respective pulling runes. Both are completely different from the Monk's Cyclone Strike in that they merely pull monsters closer to you, while Cyclone Strike pulls monsters all the way to you. In some cases, Stomp and Leap don't even pull the affected monsters, or worse, those monsters completely counter you. Rejected! Oh, but seriously, this right here is a problem. Why would I use either ability if they can't affect the monsters I need them for in the first place? Cyclone Strike can actually pull some bosses, but various elite packs are completely immune to Ground Stomp and Leap? Do not want. The requirements for using Thunderstrike are shared with most of the popular Barbarian builds, allowing you to easily switch once you have a solid two-hander, 35 to 40% base crit, and enough lifesteal to survive. There aren't any specific items that you must have, but the Legendary Axe Scorn or the Immortal King set's Mighty Weapon are worth aiming for. Scorn has base crit damage and a socket that works well with Into the Fray, while the Mighty Weapon has very high base damage with strength and can reduce the cost of Thunderstrike for use with Marauder's Rage or Bloodshed. Also, both are black weapons, allowing them to fully utilize bonus elemental damage. For Monster Power 1, 500 resistances, 4000 armor, and 40,000 life will see you through, but using some of the defensive runes alternatives will allow lower stats. You absolutely cannot skimp on lifesteal with a minimum of 6%, and I can't recommend life on kill enough. With the goal being to 1 or 2 shot trash, my 4000 life on kill functions similarly to having 3000 life on hit up until elite packs. You can supplement with bonus health from globes, but it's entirely up to you as I haven't needed it. The -4 weapon throw cost is obviously not a part of this build, but I list it because it's residual from my other builds and I like to be thorough. Perhaps the best part of this build is that you're able to turn average damage into above average or excellent damage. I have 65,000 unbuffed DPS, but Battle Rage pushes me to nearly 80,000 and Punish to 95. The kicker is that once I've stacked Punish and Hulk out with Insanity, I break 220,000 DPS for more than triple what I started with. It's not permanent, but I know somebody's face is going to be broken when it's over, even if sometimes it's mine. To check out my items, click the d3up.com link in the description box below. Here are never before seen clips of me killing things with an axe, unless you count me seeing them as being seen before. One thing I didn't work into this build are items that reduce Hammer of the Ancients cost. This was intentional as I wanted to show how effective it is without them, but you can do some crazy things should you decide to use them. If you pick up the Immortal King's Mighty Weapon and the Stone of Jordan for a combined total of -10, you'll cut the cost of Thunderstrike in half while generating 3 Fury per target hit. This means that you can return up to 9 Fury per swing with a standard elite pack for a net of -1 Fury per attack. You can then change Into the Fray to Marauder's Edge for an extra 15% damage and swap Momentum for Killing Spree to recover the 10% crit lost by not using an axe or mace. Oh, and now you have up to 30% more damage against elites, 6% bonus elemental damage, and 15 additional max fury from Stone of Jordan to compensate for 3% of the crit chance lost from your ring. 2 items and life is pretty good. Fresh off a Whirlwind build, this will feel rather slow and inefficient, but the damage is there and adjustments can be made to incorporate sprint for speed. Whirlwind will be better at quickly clearing trash, but Thunderstrike can achieve faster elite and boss kills. None of the revealed changes for patch 1.07 affect this build, so barring last minute alterations, Thunderstrike should be as effective after the patch as it is now. Feel free to try it out on the PTR though, and let me know what you think. In the meantime, like, favorite, and subscribe for more suboptimal goodness.